Once upon a time, there lived 3 piglets with their mother in a small house. It was time for them to leave their home and learn to live on their own. Their mother called the 3 piglets next to her. My dear children, the time has come for you to go out into the world. Go and start your new lives. But don't ever forget, whatever you do in this world, do the best you can. This is the only and the best way to stay alive. A little sad with a bit of excitement, the 3 little piglets said their goodbyes to their mummy and were on their way. After a while, they found some piece of land where they could build their own home. The youngest piglet was determined to build his home with straw. He thought this was the easiest and the fastest way to build a home. That way, he had heaps of time to play. The youngest of them all finished his house in one day. He yelled out to the other piglets, "Hey you guys, I'm already finished!" The eldest piglet had a look at the house.
Okay, but this house doesn't look steady at all. How will we protect ourselves from the wolf?
The youngest piglet didn't take any notice of his brother.
Don't worry, nothing will happen.
Okay, don't say I didn't warn you.
The middle piglet decided to make his house out of wood. From the branches he had collected in the woods, he decided to build a little cubby house. His house took exactly 3 days to finish. This house was a bit more steady than the one with straw. The eldest piglet walked over towards him.
My dear brother, you've done a great job, but this doesn't look safe at all. Is this house going to protect us from the wolf?
The middle piglet answered,
Don't worry, this house is very safe.
Okay, don't say I didn't warn you.
While the 2 little piglets were having a great time in their newly built homes, the eldest of them all was constantly working because he was building a home from bricks and rocks. The other piglets thought that his effort was useless. All they did was play around and kill time.
Why would you bother with this when you can quickly finish like we have? How scared is he?
The eldest piglet didn't bother listening to them. He worked for 1 whole week and managed to finish his house made out of bricks and rocks. A day later, a hungry wolf arrived near their home. He first stood in front of the house made of straw. The little piglet was resting in his house made of straw. The wolf knocked on the door.
Open the door and let me in. If you don't, I'll huff and puff and blow your house in.
You can't do anything to me. My house is steady enough.
And so the wolf huffed and puffed, and he blew his house in. But with great effort, the little piglet managed to get away. And off he ran over to his brother's house made from tree branches. He knocked on the door, and when the middle piglet opened the door, the little piglet threw himself inside the house.
Hey, close the door. The wolf can come in here. Don't worry, he can't do anything to us in this house.
After a while, the wolf came by the second piglet's wooden house and yelled inside.
Open the door and let me in. If you don't, I'll huff and puff and blow your house in.
You can't blow my house in.
And so the wolf huffed and puffed, and he blew his house in and brought it down. Both piglets ran to the third piglet's house and barely got away from the wolf.
Brother, the wolf is going this way. What are we going to do?
The oldest piglet answered, very sure of himself.
Don't worry, the wolf cannot come in this house.
A little later, the starving wolf came by the third piglet's house of bricks and stone and yelled to the 3 piglets.
Open the door and let me in. If you don't, I'll huff and puff and blow your house in.
Don't you even try, you bad wolf. You cannot come in this house.
The wolf got very angry. He huffed and puffed, but nothing happened. He could not bring his house down. He tried and tried, but he couldn't move one single brick. Finally, being exhausted, the wolf decided to try another way to go in. He saw the chimney up on the roof and started to climb. Realizing that the wolf was going to climb up on the roof and come down the chimney, the piglet quickly lit up the fireplace right under the chimney and put a big bucket of water on the woods. The wolf barely climbed up the chimney and threw himself in and went straight into the boiling bucket.
Help! Help! I'm burning! Save me! Help!
Finally, being free from the wolf, the piglets hugged each other with joy. The 3 piglets went to their mother's house the next day to tell her all that had happened. The youngest one came next to his mother.
You were right, Mummy. Whatever we did in this world, we have done it to our best. If you really work for something, it will be a success.
From that day on, the 2 piglets were never lazy. They worked hard like their big brother and lived a happy and safe life. Once upon a time, in a little cottage in the woods, lived a mother goat and her little goats leading a happy life. The little goats were very cute. They all were like toys. Mother goat, like all mothers, loved her little goats very much. She protected them from all the wild animals in the forest. One day, before she left the house to find food in the forest, she called her little goats next to her and...
My dear children, I am going into the forest. Do not open the door for anyone. If the wolf comes into the house, he will eat all of us alive. He's very shifty. He will disguise himself into different shapes and try to fool you.
So how will we recognize him?
The wolf has a rough voice, and I have a soft and sweet voice. So you can recognize him from his low and rough voice right away.
Right when she was leaving, the mother goat remembered something else. She turned to her little goats.
One more thing. The wolf's feet are black and mine are white. You can also recognize him from his feet.
Don't worry, Mother. We can protect ourselves. You can count on us.
Mother goat kissed her little goats one by one and headed into the woods. The wolf was watching them from afar. When he saw Mother Goat leaving, he waited a while, and then he came in front of the cottage and knocked on the door.
Who is it?
Little goats, open the door. Your mother is here. I brought nice food for you all.
But the little goats recognized the wolf's rough voice right away. Without opening the door, they yelled out,
You're not our mother. Her voice is sweet and more beautiful. You're the wolf. You can't fool us.
The wolf got very angry because he could not fool the little goats. So he went to the shop, bought a big piece of chalk and ate it. Now his voice sounded much softer. So he went back to the cottage and knocked on the door again. This time, the wolf started to talk with his soft voice.
My little goats, open the door. It's your mother. I brought food from the forest for all of you.
Hearing the wolf's soft voice, the little goats thought that it was really their mother this time. Just when they were about to open the door, one of them shouted,
Wait! Let's look at the feet from underneath the door.
Of course, when the little goats looked from underneath the door, they saw the wolf's black feet. So they yelled again without opening the door.
We will not open the door for you. Our mother's feet are not black. They are white. You're the wolf.
As furious as he was, the wolf left. This time, he went to the bakery. When the baker saw the wolf in front of him, he was very surprised.
I'm a vegetarian now, so I will eat pastry from now on. Could you give me some flour?
The wolf came out of the bakery with a little sack of flour. When he got near the cottage, he opened the sack and poured all the flour on his feet. Now his feet were all white. The shifty wolf knocked on the door for the third time.
My little goats, open the door. It's your mother. I have brought food for all of you from the forest.
First, show us your feet so we know it's you, Mother.
The wolf showed them his feet with flour. When the little goats saw the white feet, they believed that it was their mother and opened the door. And what did they see? The wolf was standing right there in front of them. The little goats did not know what to do. They started to run around yelling.
Don't waste your time. I will catch all of you.
One of the little goats went under the desk. The second one into the bed. The third one into the chimney. Fourth kid hid in the kitchen. The fifth one got into the closet. The sixth hid behind the curtain. And the seventh kid went into the giant clock on the wall. But the shifty wolf was quick, and one by one he caught them all from wherever they were hiding.
Come here. Don't run. I will catch you all. I said stop.
The only one he could not find was the one hiding in the clock. He was already full, so he gave up on looking for them and head out. There was a big yard a little further from the cottage. The wolf lay under a tree on the yard and started to sleep, snoring. Short while after, the mother goat returned home. When she saw the door open, she knew something bad had happened and started to scream.
Oh, my little goats!
When she entered the house, she was shocked. The tables and chairs were all upside down. Curtains were torn. The beds were all messed up. The pillows and sheets were all on the floor. Mother Goat looked for her little goats but could not find them anywhere. She started to yell out their names one by one, but not one answered. Finally, it was time to call the last one's name. Only then she heard a high-pitched voice.
I'm inside the grandpa clock, Mummy!
Mother Goat ran to the grandpa clock and took her kid out of there. Mother Goat and kid hugged. The little goat started to tell the story, crying.
The wolf came in disguise and we thought it was you and opened the door. The wolf ate all my brothers.
Oh, darling. Mother Goat was very upset. She cried for her little goats. With only one of her kids remaining, she walked out and started to go towards the yard. After a while, they saw the wolf sleeping under a tree. He snored so bad that the branches of the tree were shaking. Mother Goat observed the wolf for a while. She realized that inside his tummy, some things were moving.
Oh my God! Can it be that my goats are in his tummy and they're still alive?
She had a plan. She turned to her kid. Run home, bring me a needle, thread and the scissors. When the little kid was running home, Mother Goat collected 6 big rocks from the floor. After a while, the little goat came back with a needle, thread and the big scissors. Mother Goat cut open the wolf with the scissors. She saw one of her little goats right away. And then the other ones started to appear one by one. They were all healthy. Mother Goat couldn't stay still from the joy she had. All the little goats hugged their mothers with joy.
Mama, Mama, we love you! Oh, Mama, Mama, Yummy! Oh, Mommy, we love you!
They were all full of joy.
Ah, my little goats, you're safe.
Mother Goat put the rocks she collected carefully inside the wolf. Then she stitched his tummy with the needle and thread. The wolf was sleeping so deep he'd not feel anything. He did not move. Mother Goat and her little goats quickly got away. When the wolf woke up, he stood up. His tummy hurt really bad. He thought to himself that it was because he ate too many goats. Because his tummy was full of rocks, he got really thirsty. He came next to the river to drink some water. But when he was walking, the rocks were hitting each other.
My tummy feels so heavy and full. It's as if all the goats I ate turned into rocks.
He wanted to kneel down and drink some water. Due to the rocks being so heavy, he lost his balance and slipped into the water.
Oh! Help! Help me! I'm drowning! Help!
Yelled out for help, but no one helped him. He could not bear the weight of the rocks anymore and went under into deep waters. When they saw what happened, Mother Goat and her little goats ran to the river.
The wolf is dead! Yippee! The wolf is dead! The wolf is dead! Yippee!
Hand in hand, they all started to dance and jump around. From that day on, Mother Goat and her 7 little goats had a peaceful and happy life in their cottage in the forest. Once upon a time, there lived a little girl. This girl wore a Red Riding Hood at all times. That's why everybody used to call her Little Red Riding Hood. Darling! Yes, Mummy? You know your grandmother is ill. Would you take her the cookies I baked and the fresh herbs I picked from the woods? Of course, Mummy, I will. The little girl, with her Red Riding Hood as always, started her journey to her grandmother's house. Do not leave the road in the bunny forest, sweetheart, said her mother as she was leaving. Little Red Riding Hood started walking in the forest while joyously singing songs. I wonder why they call it the bunny forest. I haven't seen any bunnies along the way. Little Red Riding Hood came to a road filled with flowers. There were all kinds of colored flowers. I should pick some flowers for my grandmother. She'll be very pleased. While Little Red Riding Hood was picking the flowers, she did not realize that she was drifting away from her path. At that moment, she heard a sound coming from the bushes. Suddenly, a big bad wolf approached in front of her. Little Red Riding Hood was so scared that when she saw the wolf right in front of her eyes, she dropped the basket that she was carrying. The wolf jumped closer to her and collected the cookies she had dropped from the basket and gave them back to Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood was amazed by this unexpected gesture from the wolf. Thank you.
Where are you heading, little girl?
To my grandmother's house, the yellow house at the end of this forest. She is not feeling well, so I'm bringing her cookies and healthy herbs.
Really?
By the way, you can call me Little Red Riding Hood like everybody else does.
I'll head on first and let your grandmother know that you're on your way so that you can continue picking up your beautiful flowers.
Right at that moment, he heard a gunshot of an approaching hunter's rifle and ran away as fast as he could. Little Red Riding Hood looked around for a moment and started crying, realizing that she was lost. Hearing her crying, the hunter approached and came next to her.
What are you doing alone here, little girl? It's very dangerous around here. I'm looking for a big bad wolf whom I've been hunting for a very long time.
Little Red Riding Hood was very ashamed because she had not listened to her mother and left the road in the bunny forest. So she could not tell the hunter that she had met the wolf.
Well, I was bringing cookies to my ill grandmother living at the end of the forest and I got lost.
Let me bring you to your grandma's home then.
They started to walk together, and right then the wolf took a shortcut and quickly made it to the grandmother's house. He knocked on the door. The grandmother yelled from inside,
Who is it?
the wolf changing his voice.
It's me, Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood. I brought you cookies and fresh herbs from the woods.
The door is open, my dear. You can come in.
The wolf smirked and stormed in through the open door. When a while later, Little Red Riding Hood and the hunter arrived at the grandmother's house.
Go, little girl. Go next to your grandmother as soon as possible.
The hunter went back on his way. Little Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. Her grandmother yelled from inside.
Who is it?
It's me, Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood.
The door is open, my darling. You can come in.
Little Red Riding Hood hesitated for a moment, because the sound she heard did sound a little different than her grandmother. She then remembered that her grandmother was ill.
Well, Grandmother probably sounds like that because she is ill.
Little Red Riding Hood opened the door and went in. The wolf, dressed in grandmother's clothing, with her nightcap and her glasses, was lying in the bed. He also closed the drapes so that it became dark inside, and Little Red Riding Hood could not recognize him.
I thank you, darling, for all your trouble getting all the way here to bring me food. Come next to me so I can give you a hug. Come, my darling. Come closer.
Little Red Riding Hood left the basket on the floor, but she did not get too close to the bed, because her grandma looked different.
Why are your arms so long, Grandma?
So that I can hug you better.
Why are your ears so big?
So that I can hear you better.
But why are your eyes so huge?
So that I can see you better.
Why are your teeth so sharp, Grandmother?
So that I can eat you better.
The wolf jumped out of the bed and charged at the Little Red Riding Hood. At that moment, Little Red Riding Hood realized that it wasn't her grandmother lying in the bed, but instead the big bad wolf she had ran into along the way.
Help me!
The hunter heard Little Red Riding Hood scream
Help! Help me!
and ran straight to the house, stormed into the open door and caught the wolf immediately.
I finally got you, big bad wolf. Now you're in my hands.
The hunter cut the wolf's belly and rescued the grandmother.
Thank you for saving us, Mr. Hunter.
You're welcome. But promise me, little girl, that you will never forget what your mother asks of you.
With great appetite, Grandmother ate all the cookies Little Red Riding Hood had brought for her, boiled the healthy herbs to make a cup of tea, and instantly got well. Little Red Riding Hood promised her grandmother that she will never ever fall into the words of a bad wolf again. Little Red Riding Hood was walking in the forest once again, singing along merrily. as she ran into the same wolf again. The wolf was punished by the hunter to clean the forest. And he was very ashamed about what he did when he saw the Little Red Riding Hood. The bunny forest became full of joy, bunnies and flowers like it was once before.